Hey everybody, hi and welcome to Tribe Talks. And today I am so excited to finally have Aoife, the mother of the lovely Kriya. Did I get that right, Aoife?
You did.
Thank you. And Lisa, mummy of gorgeous Pippa, and two other little fellas that she'll tell us about later. And yeah, myself and Aoife have been dying to have these chats for ages. And as in my recent series of tribe talks, I'm getting tribes together. I'm getting people together who support each other on a journey, whatever that journey is. And I'm really excited, to talk to you guys about your journey and how you guys found each other. So, Aoife, tell us about a little bit about yourself. We're all Instagrammers, so how long you've had your page, and tell us a little bit about Kriya.
So as Steph said, my name is Aoife. My Instagram page is called Down with Kriya. So it's for my little girl who has Down syndrome. I set it up a year ago yesterday, I think it was. So very fast year.
Wow.
But Kriya is 16 months now. So she's growing up so fast. But she's just the cutest little thing. She's flying it now. Thank God we have no issues at the minute. So it's all fun and games here.
She's absolutely, I could eat her up.
Oh, thank you.
I've been following you since day one because I couldn't get over her smile, like that smile.
She is just a breath of fresh air, I have to say.
Honestly. And the little tongue always sticking out. She's just, oh my God.
Little devil.
Yeah, she's just so cute. So it's just a pleasure, actually, kind of being on the journey with you, if that makes sense. Like seeing her grow up is absolutely gorgeous, and it's such a positive page.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for coming. And Lisa, tell us a little bit about your page and little Pippa.
Steph said, I'm Lisa. I have a little girl called Pippa. We got an after birth diagnosis of Down syndrome. Pippa was born on the 20th of October 19. She was 8 weeks early. Few issues, the typical issues that come with Down syndrome as well. Pippa is NG tube fed. She has pulmonary hypertension. She has sleep apnea, and she had an ASD and a VSD, but the ASD closed up by itself.
Brilliant.
So we were actually thrilled. It was the first time we actually left Crumlin Hospital with good news, because every time we went in there, it was, found this, and we were leaving with, heartache. So it was a lovely last trip to come out knowing that something has gone our way,
Yeah.
Brilliant.
She's flying. She's herself, even though she's all them issues. She's flying. She's a girl.
And tell me, because I hope that this interview might help parents who are facing into a diagnosis, or maybe who are struggling with a diagnosis. So you used a lot of terms there that I wouldn't be familiar with. So can you explain a little bit what's an NG tube? And you used a couple of phrases there that are, I need help with.
Like saying it all.
That's what I'm here for, to get it out.
NG tube is a nasal gastric tube. So it's taped to the side of her face. It goes up through her nose, right down to the back, and straight into the stomach.
Mm-hmm.
That we ended up, Pippa ended up, she had kind of, coughing, your typical, we actually thought it was bronchiolitis, because my older little boy, he had bronchiolitis, ended up in hospital, and he was 3 months old. So it was the same thing. Originally thought, okay, bronchiolitis, up to the hospital. But that's how we got it. What it is if, say, Pippa was having her bottle, into her lungs, so it was like trickling lungs, and it was given off the symptoms of bronchitis, and she wasn't able to, her lungs were filling up basically. She wasn't able to cope with it. So the NG is to stop that, and all the milk goes through to the NG tube, and it bypasses the trachea straight down, straight into the stomach. So it's just, it won't go into the lungs basically. It will be in for a while. She gets that bit older, that bit stronger, that her body can manage it. So videofloscopies they're called. And it's just like an x-ray basically while she's swallowing to see, is it stopping going in, is it threatening to go in. We just kind of have to wait and see and keep going. So that's the NG. Sleep apnea, I suppose that can happen. I know my nan had sleep apnea, so it can older people as well. So it's when she kind of forgets to breathe at nighttime. Well, it can happen at any time, I suppose, but it's mainly nighttime. So she wears a mask. Now there's kind of two different types of masks. There's like just a nasal one that kind of like straps on the head, or Pippa did have that and she just didn't tolerate it at all. Or there's like a avatar, so it's literally a whole mask, see-through kind of perspex mask strapped on her as well. She just that way better, and she's flying with that. Again, something she'll grow out of as she gets a bit older and a bit stronger. She's pulmonary hypertension, so that is high pressure in her lungs. So it's all like a vicious circle. So it's the pulmonary
everything is connected. Yeah,
it can't ease because she has the apnea, and then because she's aspirating and the fluid was going into her lungs, that wasn't helping the pulmonary hypertension because it was putting pressure on the heart, and then the heart holds. So it's literally trying to ease something so something else can ease, and it's basically just waiting to see and trying to stabilize each, basically.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of like I said, the ASD closed up by itself, so that's something. Doctor came back after surgery and said that weren't as high as what they anticipated. Great, because there's only so much that the echo will pick. So they needed to do this in order to get the right pressures to see what they were working with. So they were delighted with that outcome as well. So that was another bonus of us leaving good news. And then, I think that's it.
But it sounds like, I heard a lot of hope in your voice there. So it sounds like a lot of these things, plans are she'll grow out of them.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
exactly. Fingers crossed. But
yeah.
Did you find the diagnosis being a little easier because it was your third baby and you're kind of used to babies and used to the whole, does that make any difference?
To me, no. Yeah. No. There's no point in me lying and sitting here saying,
absolutely.
Oh, it was grand. No, it hit us so hard. Yeah. It was extremely hard. Because you think, I suppose we always said, like I said at the start, Pippa was 8 weeks early. So I kind of had a bad pregnancy and I was being watched for increased resistance in the flow, the umbilical cord.
Yeah, getting your Dopplers checked twice a week.
You know that as well, Aoife?
Yeah. But I knew before, I didn't get my diagnosis after.
Yeah. And is that what you both had there, that difficult pregnancy? Is that a sort of another typical sort of symptom? Or is that something completely different?
To be honest, I didn't have a difficult pregnancy. I actually had a really easy pregnancy. It was just near the end, my Dopplers were very high. But that is very common when you're having a child with Down syndrome. So they just monitor it twice a week. So it could get to a point where you're brought in, you're given steroid injections to bring on the child's lungs and everything. And you're told your baby's coming today. So it can go like that as well. Like, so the Dopplers would be very common when you're carrying a child with Down syndrome.
Yeah. So you're saying there, Lisa, that you had a difficult pregnancy and then boom, came early.
I was constantly being checked. Like Eve said, again, the steroids, I got two separate doses of steroids, kind of help the lungs in case there was an emergency to deliver. So they kind of noticed this at about 26. And then like I said, I was being watched stuff, but their aim was to get me to 30 weeks. Yeah. And they said any weeks onwards would be safe in a way. So said to me, which I'll never forget, and she just said to me, pack a bag, this was 26 weeks, pack a bag, have it in the car, you'll never know, anytime you come in, we'll be just straight up, we have to get this big. So that's what I done, packed the bag, and every time I went in, I was a nervous wreck.
God, I'd say you were.
Yeah, we kind of always said, just kind of going back, we always said that, we kind of got robbed of a pregnancy. Yeah. And she was 8 weeks early. We didn't get to do the full term. Yeah. We didn't have our baby in the ward with us straight off. We didn't get to bring her baby home with us. She was there for 5 weeks in the NICU. So just got kind of in that way, in that sense. I know it sounds terrible saying it now because of it, but looking back on how we felt then, we just felt we were saddened, you know, we seen other people and they were going out and we were jealous. We really were.
Yeah.
Hard. It really was really, really hard.
And I think it's great that you're saying that, because that for me is such a normal reaction. And when we can't say it, it's like we can't give ourselves permission to feel it, but also saying it will really help other people who go, oh my God, I felt exactly the same. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Totally.
I think the more honest, then people can relate. And I think that's, you know, the pages that you find on Instagram and stuff, I think when I found people and they were being honest, and, you know, it really, and I thought, oh God, there's people out there that is going through what we are going through.
Yeah. You just don't feel alone anymore.
Yeah, because real alien, you know, at first you're like, oh my God, it's only me and the world's looking at me and this is so strange. And
yeah,
you know, it's not, in hindsight, it wasn't. It's just how we felt at the time.
Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
it gives you a different perspective entirely. Were you early as well, Aoife?
Yeah, I went 4 weeks early. My water's broke now. I went naturally, but I did have to have an emergency section because she was breech.
Right.
But yeah, but I had to travel from Waterford to Dublin to have her.
Oh,
so I was nearly, like, she was nearly coming breech with no pain relief or anything by the time I got it.
God. How long a drive was that? Like 2 hours?
It only took an hour in the ambulance, but we were waiting for the ambulance drivers for about 4 or 5 hours.
Oh my God.
There was a whole drama about this. The midwives were killing the ambulance drivers. But yeah, like when they went to examine me, they were like, we need you up in the ward right now, or up in the delivery room now. She's nearly here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And now with that, with the babies coming early and the bit of trauma around both births, how did you find with the bonding piece? Because I think that's really underspoken about. I have a friend who really struggled to bond with her baby. She had a very difficult birth, and very difficult after the birth time. The week after the birth was very, very difficult health-wise. And she found it really hard to admit. She told me, obviously, because I'm one of her best friends, but she found it really hard to admit that the bonding was really difficult, and really a lot of judgment went on for her. You know, a lot of shame went on for her.
Yeah.
How did you guys find it?
To be honest, I had one bad day. So I think that because we got our diagnosis so early, I was already really protective of her.
Yeah.
So like the day I had her, I wasn't allowed down to her until the epidural was kind of, or the spinal tap was after kind of going away a little bit. So once I was allowed down to her, I literally sat there holding her hand because she was in the incubator for hours. But the day after was like my whole world came down around me. Like I couldn't stop crying. I had nurses coming into me trying to force me to breastfeed, to express, do this, that, and the other thing. But that was the only bad day and hard day that I kind of had until she went to Crumlin.
Yeah.
But I didn't find it hard to bond with her, because I just feel like I was so protective of her and so relieved she was finally here. It just wasn't an issue.
What hospital?
Hull Street. The National Maternity Hospital, yeah.
Oh, right.
Where were you, Lisa?
At Coombe.
Oh yeah, I was in the Coombe as well. Yeah. And did you find the early diagnosis meant that you felt you knew her before she came, or did it make any difference?
I think it did make a difference because I had a longer time to kind of process it. So I didn't have a very good experience when we kind of started the journey. So we found out we were pregnant very early. So I was only 4 weeks pregnant when I found out that I was pregnant. So we went for an early scan, and by the time we went for the early scan, I think I was about 6 or 7 weeks. And at 12 weeks, I was in with this high up doctor in the hospital. And as she was doing the scan, she just stopped, looked at me and Craig and said, I'm not happy with the shape of the head. You're going to have to go outside. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, yeah, okay, go. So me and Craig were sitting in the waiting room for an hour and a half. I was crying my eyes out, like, what are they going to tell me, like, around all these mothers so happy to go and see their babies. And then we went into a sonographer, and she was lovely. Like, she was saying, yeah, look, there's a little bit of extra fluid around her neck. This is what it means. We're going to get you to Dublin to get a blood test, a second opinion, blah, blah, blah. And I just said to her, look, you need to educate your doctors. That is not how you deal with a situation like that. And I was like, I need to make a formal complaint about this, because I said, if I was giving someone that news, I wouldn't just say, oh, I'm not happy with the shape of the head, go on, go out and sit outside.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Did they listen to you when you complained?
Yeah, they did.
You felt heard, yeah.
Yeah, so, but then on the other side of that, another doctor said to me, look, Aoife, you're 25, nearly 26. It's not really possible. Like, this is only a high possibility. And I was like, I am telling myself that my daughter has Down syndrome. If she arrives and she doesn't have Down syndrome, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And I was like, but I'm actually telling you, I don't want to be told that, because this is how I'm processing it and how I'm dealing with it. But I think that was the only bad experience that I had. And it kind of put me down a path thinking that I was after doing something wrong. I was like, is this my fault? Like, it took a while for me to get around that part of it. But like when we got the call with, like, you go and get your blood test done. And I remember sitting there and the nurse was saying, oh, you can find out the gender now, like that'll come back with it. Would you like to find out? And I was saying, at 12 weeks, absolutely. I was like, no one gets to find out the gender of their baby this early. But they rang to tell us, like, yeah, look, it's after coming back a high possibility that your child will have Down syndrome, but we can do an amniocentesis to confirm it in concrete for you. And I was saying, no, I said, I know it's only a small chance, but there's a chance of a miscarriage with an amniocentesis. So I said, I'm not interested in that. Like, and he's like, okay, and we have the gender here. And I was like, oh, tell me. And he was like, would you like to discuss your options first? And I was just like, no. I said, there's no options for me. I said, I just want to know what I'm having. I know she's coming now. I know she has Down syndrome. I just want to know what I'm having. Then when he said it was a girl, I just started bawling.
Oh,
yeah.
There's so many things you said there. I want to ask you about the same things, but like, oh my God. Okay, where do I start? The thing you said about the blaming thing, I want to talk to you both about that. But first of all, before I ask you about that, wow, you're so mature at 25. When I was 25, I can't even tell you what I was doing when I was 25. I don't even know.
With my degree, like, I have worked with a lot of kids with Down syndrome, and I would have been close with kids in the community that have Down syndrome. My mom is a childminder. Like, I have a background in being around a lot of children, and it doesn't make a difference to me. Like, a child is a child at the end of the day. Like, it is a grieving process, because you're not going to have like the life with your child that you typically expect. It just takes a little while to get over that, but that's normal.
But I mean, even the way you processed it, so mature for a 25-year-old. Like, just, like, you have to take that compliment. That is, like, really, even the way you described how you processed it. You allowed yourself to go through the process. And had a really good perspective all the way through. So I think there's just so many people who could learn, from you. Not about a Down syndrome diagnosis, but about anything,
like Craig would be very supportive as well. Like, he knows when there's something kind of niggling at me and stuff, and he'll just be like, right, come on, it's time to talk it out. Come on. He won't give you an option. He's like, no, come on. And he's just very supportive, and he's really easy to talk to. And we were lucky that the two of us were kind of on the same path as well. Like, we knew we wanted to keep her. We knew nothing else mattered and things like that. So
that does make a big difference. I know my own fertility journey with my husband, say exactly the same. When you're on the same page, when you're agreeing with the decisions, and the same as you, I need help sometimes getting the emotions out.
Yeah.
Great when you've got a husband or a partner who'll go, just come on, let's just
absolutely
do it.
I definitely need it, because I am a closed book.
And tell me, Lisa, tell me about the blame. Did you experience that feeling as well after you had Pippa, of, oh my God, was I something to do with this?
I can't remember as in blaming myself, or what did I do, or I suppose we were just shocked. Like, when I had her, like, it was an emergency. I was actually an inpatient in the CUM, because of less fetal movements. So I was actually in there, great, like, thank God. And I think I went in on the Thursday, and I think it was a Saturday morning. I was still in there, and they checked and said, oh, you know, any movements? And I said, there is movements, but not the same. So, oh, you know, I'll scan you, or what did she do first? Oh, she put the trace machine on me. 7:30 in the morning. And because it was first thing in the morning, I'd no sugar in me. And, you know, obviously baby would have been sleepy.
Yeah.
So I think 7 Up. She got me to eat. I had biscuits at the side. I had the biscuits. No, still nothing. So she actually got a scan machine up, and she said, look, it's either a sleepy baby or a sick baby. Scanned me, and she went to call a doctor. And I said, like I said, it was first thing in the morning. So I was like, can I go to the toilet? I was literally only after waking it up. And I went into the toilet, and next minute there was bang, 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 bang on the door. And they were like out quickly. And I was on the phone to himself. And I was like, you know, I may go, just get up here. And I said, will you please just give me like 25 minutes till he gets up? No, couldn't wait. So they had me stripping off, the gown on, drinking the drink that you take, whatever, for going under. And yeah, he missed it. Obviously he's trying to get up. But yeah, so I'm waffling on here.
No, you're not at all. It's really interesting to hear how it all actually panned out, you know.
I didn't actually know that some people were put under for a section.
Neither did I. I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah.
So so I went down anyway, and they were very good now, you know, obviously because I was alone. There was nurses beside me every step of the way. And obviously Pippa came out, and she gave a cry straight away, and came over and showed me her in the incubator. Well, they showed me over the blue, you know, the sheet. Worked on her, and then just showed me her in the incubator, and they're like, we have to take her off, which I kind of was expecting anyway. So I was in recovery, and himself went down, but I think it was about 2 hours later, and the doctor came up to me on the ward. I was back on the ward at this stage, and he just said to me, look, he said, we are going on the basis of the shape of Pippa's eyes. And said, I don't see any other pinpoint markers straight out. He said, it's 50-50. He said, is it okay if we do a test? And I was still oblivious. I was thinking, you know, they would have copped all this on the scans. There's no way, you know. So yeah, still oblivious. He was like, look, the test will take 10 days. So I think, it was 10 days, but we actually, because of on a bank holiday or something, longer of a wait that we had to wait for, and that killed me.
Oh my God.
So like that, then I think I kind of lost the plot in the hospital. I really getting in on me then. It was like I was kind of thinking in my head, okay, maybe then. And I was going down, and I was looking at her. I actually couldn't enjoy seeing her in the NICU.
It's so hard.
Awful. But I didn't know who she was. Like, did she not have Down syndrome? And I was back and forth. He kept saying to me, you know, oh, I don't think she does. And then I'd look at her and I'd say, no, she does. You know, kept going on and on and on. We couldn't enjoy our time in the NICU at all. And we were looking at other parents, and they were cooing on over their baby. And we were just like, we just needed to know. Well, me personally anyway, so just I did find it hard to have to say. Really, really tough. Till I knew them results. And I think we did get the results obviously then after, like I said, a couple of days. I think it was about 14 days.
I think it took about 2 weeks for us as well. Yeah,
it was a long time. I remember every time I kept going up to the Coombe every evening, because I was waiting on himself, because I couldn't drive after the section. I'd come back from work, and we were obviously straight up there and staying all evening. And I never forget that trembling feeling walking in, because thinking the nurses knew and one, you know, they're keeping all this as a secret. My head was somewhere else. But I seen the actual doctor then that was going to come to us and tell us, and you know, I went to the bathroom and I came back out, and he was talking to the doctor, and he said, look, her mind is absolutely going, are the results back? And he was like, no. So anyway, one of the evenings before we went up, we got a call to say the results were in. He said, we won't talk about it over the phone, just we'll see you when you're up. So anyway, I knew they wouldn't give results over the phone, positive, negative. So we went up and yeah, we got just told that she did have Down syndrome. I remember the two of us broke down crying, but it was like relief. The minute I knew.
Did I say that to you? Yeah. Was there an element of, okay, now we know. We know. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I had said, I couldn't bond with her. I didn't know who this baby was, you know,
Yeah.
looking at her obviously, but I just wanted to know. And then as soon as I remember my mom was there, and as soon as I knew and I came back, and obviously I was crying still, but I just said to my mom, I feel sorry for her now because she's up there, and I want her, because I knew who, you know, before that I was kind of pushing her aside a little until I could deal with and get the result basically. In that way, I don't blame myself as such, or what did I do. I know it's just one of them things. That's kind of my whole kind of, well, our feeling on the whole thing when she was in the NICU and stuff.
Yeah,
very hard.
And you remember that moment where you were like, she's my baby?
Yeah. And I could, like I said, I could get on with it then, and I couldn't wait to bring her home. And I know it was terrible, but I could start being proud of her. You know, I just
totally.
And as well, setting up the page and talking to other moms, and it was just like people out there exactly like, you know, and it really did help. So yeah, and then I just took it all in my stride. Then it was like Down syndrome, you know. Didn't care then. Still don't.
And tell me about the boys. Did you have any kind of conversation with them about the diagnosis?
Well, obviously after, but obviously I didn't know until we kept it quiet. Now you see, the boys obviously seen me so upset, and we were in the car, and I don't think Pippa was home at this time. I think she was still in the NICU, and I remember I couldn't. The drop of a hat, I just started crying. Anything at all. I just wasn't myself. And looked at my fiance, and I just said, look, I'm going to have to say it to him, whatever about the youngest fella, because like I said before at the start, he's crazy. He's just oblivious to happy-go-lucky. The eldest boy, he's real sensitive and real soft feelings, and he's really lovable. So I just thought it's not fair on him, and he's old enough to kind of understand. So I just said, look, you know, you have to understand why Mammy's upset. And I just said, do you understand Down syndrome? And he did. Well, to a degree, he did.
What age was he at the time?
He was 9 at the time.
9.
So
He would have seen it. He would have seen some kids in school maybe with Down syndrome.
Yeah. You know, but he's a good character. You know, he's so yeah, I just said it to him, and he took it like, you know, on board. Didn't and yeah, he just kept asking me, was I okay? And he's very kind-hearted, you know, but even to this day, like they don't understand really. Like, well, the youngest boy, he doesn't understand, but yeah, they don't see.
She's just her. She's her.
Yeah.
He Down syndrome at all.
Yeah. I follow a lovely page over on Facebook. I followed it for years. I'm not really on Facebook anymore, but I used to love this page. You guys probably know it. It's Rosie, something Rosie. I must find it and send it to you. She's now school. But again, I followed her from when, you know, she was really young and going to school. And again, the cutest little thing. But she's got 2 older brothers. And when I say that she has everybody wrapped around her little finger,
I believe it.
Oh my God, like adore. I must actually look at it because I haven't looked at it in ages. Because when you were talking about the boys there, I was thinking of this family and those brothers. Oh my God, 2 big brothers, just eat her up.
Yeah, and that's, I kind of get that, you know, they are even already, you can see the little protective, and even because of the diagnosis of Down syndrome, but just brothers with their
their little sister, like
you know, and just keep thinking, you know, when they're older, you know, they will kind of help mind her and stuff like that.
And remind me, what age is Pippa now?
Pippa is, oh God, month-wise, I lose track of the months. I'm just like, oh, she's 1.5.
Yeah, and do you do that thing with, because I always get really confused with preemies where people like adjust their age, and I'm like, oh my God.
No, I never adjust her age. I'm just like, no, she's here 16 months.
Yeah, that's
the doctor used to say that to me, and I'm like, okay.
I get so confused.
You adjust it, and I'm like, in the hospital, every time I go up, like, So she's disadjusted and that she's that and whatever.
Yeah.
She's born on the 20th of October and that's why I did.
Yeah. But I was just thinking, is she old enough? Yeah, she's old enough now to be like great fun for the boys. Like,
yeah, she's getting her little personality now, and she looks up to them. Like she loves when they come in the door from school, and yeah, she's getting her own little. So it's nice to see, you know.
Yeah,
lovely.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you as well, because obviously, you know, you both had traumatic births. And then for you, Lisa, you had the traumatic experience straight after the birth. Did you find a struggle with postnatal? I mean, you talked about, you know, the crying and everything, which is totally normal for what you've been through, but did you find you had postnatal on top of all that as well?
Yeah, like I said, and I know the doctors up there were kind of, you know, asking me, was I okay and stuff, and if I wanted to go see a social worker, but I never kind of talked to anyone, only for himself, my fiance and stuff. But looking back now, I definitely did. Definitely wasn't in this world at all. Yeah, I was just like a walking zombie. My body was just going with what I had to do. My head was elsewhere. I was constantly crying. I was just looking at my face. My mum was just bringing me out, you know, to keep my mind off things during the day because I couldn't drive, and she was bringing me there, but I had no interest, and I was just dead.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't nice at all.
And how long do you think it lasted for?
Oh God, like I said, until I got that diagnosis, I think it did ease 100% then. So she was in hospital for 5 weeks. I would have got to about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
About a doctor probably would have said it probably would have went on that bit longer, but I felt dealing with it that bit better.
Massive shift, like, yeah.
In the 5 weeks then after she was born, got to bring her home, and I got to do normal things with a baby, you know. So and even more, but yeah, it did ease after the 2 weeks after the diagnosis. I could get my hair.
Because I'm sure you were suffering with shock, you know, like full on shock after what you went through. Yeah. But I mean, even a traumatic birth, you suffer with shock after. So, you know, you had a big combination of things there.
Yeah. I remember just even sitting. I was in the ward, so she was in the NICU. It was I think it was like a level or two below me. I was in a ward, and I remember, because I suppose Aoife, you'll understand, like with you kind of have to. I didn't want to breastfeed, but because the baby was wanted any bit of breast milk to help bring on Pippa, I suppose, and anything so early. So I was going down in the middle of the night every 3 hours, pumping, going down with my little bit I had. Going with these big jugs and I little ribbles. Sitting on the stairs, like I said, because she was underneath, and I used to walk down the stairs, and I remember sitting on the stairs, and I was on the phone, and I rang my mum, I rang my fiance, and I called, and I couldn't stop. I could not stop. They asked me, was I okay, every time they walked by, and I just wanted to go there. And they kept saying to me, you know, you can stay. I think it was in the parents, or you could stay longer. What was they were calling it something? If you wanted to rent something, they had this word on it. I think for my own mind, and I'm delighted I did make that decision. And everyone kept saying to me, you need to get out of the hospital. And I kept saying, I don't want to leave her here. I knew I had to get out of the hospital because I was and I was fearing every time a doctor came walking my way. I thought, I don't know. I just knew something. They were coming for me. They were going to tell me bad news. I was just a complete ball of wreck. So I went when I could get out, and I think it was better to kind of get my own surroundings, my own bed. Yeah. So kind of them things helped as well with the whole blues like that, getting home.
Yeah. And how about you, Aoife? Did you have any of the postnatal or baby blues?
Yeah, I had it for a lot longer now. Mine started and I didn't even realise it. I was very close with 2 nurses when Crea was in Crumlin, and they noticed it and was like, Craig, you need to keep an eye on her. We can see it in her. Like, I actually had emotional thinking about it. Crea had to have an epidural for one of her surgeries. Oh God. And the day I saw her like with the epidural, it just broke me, and that's when it started. And a couple of days after, I literally vomited for a full 24 hours, like just pure anxiety.
Yeah.
But when we got to bring her home, I got really sick, and it was just when COVID was starting,
Oh,
and the
yeah.
doctors like, oh, we think you have COVID, but we'll have to do a test. But then they were like, actually, you need to come into us and get a blood test. There's something not right. And I got diagnosed with a serious overactive thyroid, so it's called like thyroid toxicosis or something like that. But while I was in getting all my tests, like my doctor was grilling me, and she was like, Aoife, you have serious postnatal depression. But it's only in the last 2 months, I'd say, that I'm finally coming back to myself, that I can actually feel the difference. So I was just unlucky that it actually lasted 8-9 months.
Again, that's very normal. I mean, I remember I have an auntie then.
Can't believe I cried.
I always say when I'm coaching people, I'm like, they always say, you always make me cry, Steph. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm earning my money unless you're crying. So come on, come on. I'm like, okay, now I can charge you because you cried. No, my auntie, and God bless her, she's dead, unfortunately. My dad's mother, she told us when she was really quite old, she'd finally gone to the doctor, and he had said to her, you've had postnatal depression since your first child, but you've never had it treated.
Yeah.
Never felt herself after she had her first child. And this was like, her first child was in her 40s when she finally went and talked to the doctor. It's amazing. And what I thought was amazing about the CUM, and you might remember this, Aoife, they were all over it. Do you remember the amount of people who talked to me and to my husband about postnatal depression? Like
Lisa was actually in the
sorry, Lisa, you were the CUM. Sorry, yeah. You have that experience as well. Like it was like every second person was like taking Deck aside and going, right, this is what you need to watch for. Here's a leaflet, checking with me. And I was happy out. I was like, I'm grand. I'm my normal self. But I felt like I had to convince everybody I was grand because I was being asked so much. Like,
but that was like me when because Kriya had to have surgery on her tummy and everything. Like I was just trying to be so strong that like you were nearly putting every emotion like completely away, that one day it just all comes crashing down. But like everyone was like, that's why like you need to let it all out. Like I know you're happy and you're okay and blah blah, blah, but deep down you're not okay.
It's hard to describe it because like you haven't experienced depression before. It's a very unusual feeling, isn't it?
Like
it's very hard to describe.
I can only see it now looking back that I was literally a shadow of myself. Like even Craig is only even noticing it in the last couple of weeks. He was like, your confidence is slowly coming back, like you're taking pictures of yourself again, and like little things like that. Like,
by the way, I noticed that on your Instagram. It's really nice to see you.
Everyone says that when I pop onto the stories, they're like, it's actually nice to see your face sometimes.
Really nice to see you. Yeah. I never saw you. Although that video where you got engaged.
I'll start crying again.
I probably watched that a few times because I thought that was one of the nicest things.
I don't know where he got the idea from, but it was just perfect. The day of Kriya's christening, our priest, like I made my communion, my confirmation, went through secondary school with him and everything. So we kind of know him really well. But just near the end of the christening, Father Chestnut was like, now Aoife, every time you're talking about Kriya, you need to emphasize that she's an Ennis. And I was like, yeah, because up in Dublin they were calling her Kriya Daly and they wouldn't let her be an Ennis until she had a PPS number. And then Craig just stood up and went, yeah, so it's only fair that Aoife becomes an Ennis now. And he got down and proposed, and I was like,
that's
find the video. It is absolutely gorgeous. It's all the photos of the christening, and then all of a sudden you're like, what's going on?
Yeah, that's why everyone was gorgeous. Like, I was not expecting that.
So gorgeous, and the music and everything you picked for, oh god, it's gorgeous.
Well, that has been our song since the day we met, so it had to be that song.
It's gorgeous, so feel good. So let's talk about your tribe then. So God, so many things in common when you talk about your stories, and also the surgeries that the girls had to go through. Again, I mean, I can only imagine. Touch wood, I've had no experience with that with Sophie, but when I even see children on the telly who are going in first, it's very, very moving. So again, having a community, I guess, of people who've had similar experience with similar surgeries. was that all very helpful when you found each other?
In ways it was, like Korea, the first surgery that Korea needed, it was called a duodenal atresia. So it was a double bubble, which meant there was a blockage in her tummy to her bowel, kind of.
Okay.
So that, say if we had fed her, and we didn't know, so we had found that out at 26 weeks, luckily enough.
Right, you found out pre-birth. Wow.
Yeah, so we were lucky.
Yeah.
So that meant that I was going for scans every week as well.
Yeah.
So it would have meant that if we fed her, she wouldn't have been able to poo, so she would have got sick. Now, years ago when that used to happen, the poor babies were just left to pass away because they didn't know how to deal with it.
Oh my God.
Whereas that's why she had to have the epidural. So they opened her up just beside her belly button, and they just had to unblock the blockage. So when they done that, like I hadn't seen any of the bloggers have anything like that up, but we were lucky that the nurses and midwives up in Dublin went through all of that in complete detail. So we knew that as soon as she was born, she had to go to NICU because she'd have to be fed like through her nose and things like that. So we got to go, like the class you have before you have your baby, they brought us to the NICU just to be prepared for all of that. But yeah, so she had that one, and then she had to have a PDA closure in her heart, but she also had a lot of little holes in her heart. Right. So when she got called for that surgery, we thought it was going to have to be open heart, but all of the holes closed except for the PDA, so they just had to go up through her groin. So but when you see the babies on the heart ward in Crumlin, like I said to Craig, I couldn't imagine, like tiny babies that were probably born at 20 weeks going through open heart surgery and all this kind of thing. Like, as much as it's hard for you, it's a lot harder for a lot of other people.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's, like you just said, looking in and seeing all these tiny little babies, and if problems in a little pile, 100% you'd pick back your own when you see what goes on up there.
Yeah, like I just found that not a lot of bloggers were after writing about their experiences with any of the operations. So when I had up about Kriya's double bubble and her heart, I had a lot of people writing to me about that because we were one of, not the only page obviously, but we were one of a very small number of pages that were writing about it. So like mammies were like, how long do you think we'll be there? What do I need? Like it was, so it does help to write about those kind of things, but I suppose not a lot of people like to talk about like their child being operated on and things like that because it is hard.
Well, preparation, I mean, like you said there, you know, knowing about it pre-birth and the nurses being able to talk you through it, it's amazing, isn't it, when you have a sense of, okay, this is going to happen and it's going to happen, and you know, it's almost like a tick sheet as you're going through it.
But it was just like every time you went in for a scan, you were just waiting to be told something else. Like it was like one knock after another. But I'm just glad that we found out everything while we were pregnant. We had no surprises afterwards. Really, like there was nothing major or anything. So we were lucky that we had a lot of time to process anything that was going to happen. Yeah,
while she was safe.
Yeah.
In your tummy.
Great. And isn't it, like you said, that you'd no surprises, you knew what was going to be ahead. Like that's so good that they picked up her little too.
Yeah, but even like when they picked up the fluid behind her neck at one of the first scans, we went up to Dublin a week later and the fluid was gone from her neck.
Oh wow.
So if we had went for a scan a week later, nothing would have been spotted because they would have only been bringing us in for the routine scans, which what do you get, 3 or 4 scans now or something like that? So like we would have never known if we went for a scan a week later. So you know, it's mad.
Like the draw, isn't it? Like it's to
absolutely
just cop on and tell you no, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I always wanted to meet the girl that like first scanned me and to tell me like this is what it means. But anytime I was ringing her to give her any news, they're like, no, she's not here today. And then when I got friendly with all the other sonographers from being in there every week, they were like, oh, she moved to Kilkenny. Like, would you not have told me that? So I could have rang her and told her everything.
So Kriya's had how many surgeries now? So she had the tummy one 2. And the heart one, just the 2. And are there any more that you know of, or is she done?
No, nothing now, thank God. Touch wood.
Yeah.
Touch
and
wood.
What about Pippa? Is she done?
So, Pippa didn't have any surgeries as such. She was, say, put to sleep.
Yeah.
It was actually the little one. I suppose that was a little kind of a surgery. But then she was put out a second time then to see, what was it? Oh, because the apnea, they copped on the apnea, and they just there's a thing called the floppy larynx.
Oh yeah.
Kind of fold over and close up the airway. So they just wanted to see. So they put a camera. This was before she was put asleep on the ward. They put a camera up her nose, but they couldn't see down far enough. She had to be put out and go down to theatre for a camera down her mouth.
Yeah.
We've actually no, heart surgeries, because we like with the ASD and the VSD, we were told, right, okay, she could need surgery, or so we were up for this open heart surgery type thing.
Yeah.
But luckily now, like again, touch wood, there's nothing so far, and we just hope the VSD closes up itself now as well. So we'll just wait and see, I suppose.
What's a VSD and an ASD?
So they're kind of known as holes in the heart, but
Oh yeah.
they wouldn't say it's a hole. It's kind of like a gap in the bottom chamber, and one in the top chamber, and then I know there's the left and the right. So know their own little, the VSD, I just know them as the whole heart basically. But yeah, that's what they are, and it's kind of quite common with kids with Down syndrome to have them.
And so tell me then, when did you guys find each other?
I think when I started my page, I think it was about 4 months in after I started my page, Lisa followed me.
Yeah.
And then you had set up Pippa's page.
Yeah.
We started talking to each other. I think it was the day that you actually followed the page.
Was it? I can't remember.
Yeah, no, because I remember actually sharing her page because she had the NG tube and being like, oh my God, she has one as well, because Kriya had one. And yeah, I just started talking to her, and then obviously please share and follow and like and get everyone onto the page, because it was nice seeing another page set up after ours, because the kids are so similar in age and they're both little girls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's lovely. God, fair play to your memory. I actually couldn't remember.
I remember like the pages that I talked to. Like there's specific pages that I'd have no problem picking up my phone and sending a message to.
Yeah.
So I'd remember all those kind of people. Now there'd be some people I'd be like, I don't have a clue.
Yeah.
But you build like stronger relationships with some people than others.
Yeah. Now, like, I'd be able to, just like you said, there's certain pages of people that I talk to, and I'd tag or such and such. But
yeah,
kind of when just as Steph said there, like back kind of like who followed who first and stuff like that, I couldn't remember there. But yeah.
And tell me, what's been the difference for you guys finding, people who are having the same similar journey, and also doing it kind of publicly? How's it changed things for you, do you think?
I think it kind of normalizes your life a bit, because none of your friends are ever going to walk that path.
Yeah.
Really, like there's a chance they might, but realistically they probably won't.
Yeah.
And it makes you a lot more comfortable talking about things as well.
Yeah.
Like at the start, people had asked me about things and I'd be like, why do you want to know this? Like, this is really personal. Whereas now I'll shout from the hilltops. I'm like, I don't, like, you can know everything. I don't care. Like, I'm educating people, making it normal. If you don't have that nice to say, don't say anything to me.
Yeah, like that. Like, I think at the start, I was kind of, like you just said, why are you wondering about that? Like, and it's private.
Mm-hmm.
I was all a secret. I know I was going through this. But yeah, like now I'm just like, I'm so proud of who she is. I'm so proud of what she's going through, and all her little issues. She's really fighting them, and I'm just so proud. So I'm just, like you've said,
she had such a positive impact on people. Like, she made, like, I smile every time I see her popping up with her little bows from Neil Bell and everything. Like, she's just, I'm not able.
The word proud, though, I think is such an amazing word, and the pride, ladies, like, I can feel it, through the screen. And that is just such a gorgeous message and emotion for people who are facing into the diagnosis, and you know, and you've both been through different journeys with the diagnosis as well, which is really interesting for people. But that feeling of pride is gorgeous. It says everything about where
you can't help but be proud of them though. Like, I think because they have a diagnosis, you're nearly more proud of everything that they do because you don't expect them to do it. You're told this is not going to happen until they're this age, but yet they're doing it months and months before they should be doing it. Like, it's one thing I can't stand is like, oh, have they reached this milestone yet? Oh, they should be doing this. And I'm like, she will do everything when she wants to do it and when she's ready. I'm not putting pressure on her to do things just because your child is doing it at, you know.
Yeah. But as well, I mean, they're both clearly very, very happy girls. So
yeah,
it'd be a lot. But isn't life nicer when you're a happy person? Like, things happen when you're happy and when you let life, you know, when you flow with life rather than when you fight it. And the fact that they're such happy girls with happy people around them who love them so much can only stand to them.
Yeah, and they put everything into perspective, I think, as well. Like, you're looking at them and they're just so happy all of the time, and you're like, what? How do you ever have a bad day when you have them around? Like, because their face lights up the second they see you.
Like, you know, even like all them like hashtag the few hashtag, but it's so real, and like I don't think, like, am I right? I'm not just doing it because that's what people do and they're right under the picture, but we really are the lucky few to actually babies, you know. And at the start I would never have thought I'd even say all this or said story, but I
love that about your story though, Lisa. I love that you have, you know, done that journey of from, oh my God, what the hell are we going to do, to I am so lucky. That's amazing.
Around to the complete opposite. It's I'm delighted, you know, that it has, you know, that I've took it on board, because I know there is people out there that don't, you know. But yeah, we really are the lucky few.
I always say if I was given 3 wishes, I'd never take it back. Like, I'd never change a thing.
I was going to ask you that earlier, actually. Would you change a hair in their heads?
Not for the world.
No.
Not so much.
I'll change the world for her though, as cheesy as it sounds.
Do your boys ever feel a bit jealous, Lisa?
No, I don't. Maybe the youngest lad, like I said, he's just wild. So because he's just ace. But I would say he's jealous. Just think he's more out there and just, you know, just wants my attention all the time. Away from Pippa, it's just him as a person.
Typical middle child, I think.
I
say this as the eldest child. I'm saying he's typical middle child.
Second child syndrome. No, not one bit jealous at all. Thank God.
And tell me about the rest of your tribe. Are there many other Down syndrome moms in your gangs?
But we're both friends kind of with Melissa, my mammy. So like I always say she's one of the main reasons that we set up our page. From the second I found out about Korea, I really like got into her journey. Now there's the mother I was talking about from Dungarvan. I'd speak to her a lot. We keep in touch the whole time. And then there's one in Wexford where Craig is from. I talk to her a lot as well. And then there's a little girl, Peggy, over in the UK. Oh my God, I'd absolutely run away with her. She is just a little dote.
Amazing after COVID to get all these little kids together. I'm dying to see a photo of these beautiful children.
I know. There is a lot on. There's a lot on Instagram, like, and there's a lot of pages. Like, if you thought, say, something was wrong with your child, that you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to message this person because, like, they could have gone through it. They could know another person that's after going through it.
And people with older kids who are a little ahead of you. Do you follow many pages or people like that, or have in your? I mean, not even Instagram. Just do you have like?
I'm in with the Waterford Down syndrome branch here, but I know a couple of the boys in it that are my age and a little bit younger. So I know their parents very well as well. So like we had a lot of support from the very start anyway. You know.
That's brilliant. Yeah. It's nice to have an idea of what's coming and what way you might deal with it, you know. And what about you, Lisa? Have you involved in any Down syndrome groups or anything like that?
Yeah, well, like Aoife was saying there, well, more so with the pages, like the Mind of a Mammy, and so like I got stuck in watching Evie's little journey and how she kind of gave me hope and still does give me hope. And but yeah, as in terms, we kind of got stuck into it. Wasn't Down Syndrome Ireland, it was the Down Syndrome Centre up on the Old Bray Road up in Wicklow. We found them great. We were on early intervention to kick in. Not nearly early intervention. It's only after kicking in really, but I kind of wanted to get going on Pippa's physio and her language. And we actually paid private, and the Down Syndrome Centre helped us out there, and we went.
Yeah, because at the end of the year you can actually claim back a certain amount if you keep all your receipts.
Yeah, someone actually, and I didn't realise, because her physio, we done a private one last week up in Dublin, and someone actually wrote to me and said, you know, you can claim back, and I didn't realise this at all.
Yeah, because Korea does water babies and stuff, and at the end of the year we can claim back half of it.
Right, okay.
So it's all with your local branch that you can do
your
that.
Health insurance or your tax or both?
No, it's your local branch. So say there's a Waterford branch. I don't know what way the Dublin, I'd say Dublin has a few branches around. It's just at the end of the year, you have all your receipts and then you give them to them and they decide how much you can claim back. Yeah, because like the water baby say would be development for Korea, so it's helping her muscles. If we were to go private for physio, that's also for her development and everything. So they do help in any way they can at all of the branches. They are brilliant.
That's amazing.
And has water baby stopped now because of COVID?
Yeah.
Okay.
And now I would say when it's back, try and get her into it, because it's the best thing I ever done for Korea. The absolute best thing I ever done for her.
And her face again, those pictures that you post when she's there, oh my god.
Oh, she loves it. And we just met one of her friends that she used to do water babies with, and the two of them are just after getting so grown up, and it's like it's only been a couple of months and they're like two different children, but like they get like they're making friends in water babies and stuff at that age, which is nice, as well as having fun in the water.
Yeah. And tell me about the educating piece. And again, I think I was saying before we started rolling and recording, that's one of the things I love about Instagram. You know, 1 minute I'm in the mood for looking at makeovers and clothes, and the next minute I'm learning about, you know, I've a load of for some, again, I don't know how I've ended up in all these groups with women, but I've got like the budgeting moms that I'm always learning something from, and I have the autism moms who are like amazing for educating on autism, and they've had their own autism diagnoses as well. Like, I just learned so much, and I learned so much from you guys as well. So tell me a little bit about the educating. How do you feel about kind of having that responsibility, that role modeling that you're doing? I don't know what to call it. Does it come easy to you, kind of educating people about this world that you're living in, and also how we who do not have Down syndrome children should, you know, the terms we should use, you know, how we should speak about it? How do you feel about that role? I
actually didn't ever feel like I was educating anyone until I got a message, like a thank you message saying thank you, and then like when you put up a question box and people are asking about, oh, what are the different types of Down syndrome, like I never realized, and all the different terminologies, like my grandparents wouldn't realize some of the stuff that you can't say. But like I'm not a parent that would take offense to someone using certain words, whereas some people would take offense to certain things. Like I think people take for granted that because you're in a situation everyone should know how to deal with it, but people don't. Like they do need to be educated, like, but there's a way of educating people, and if it's just putting up a story of like, oh, say this, not this, you know, like it's not a Down syndrome person, it's a person with Down syndrome. You know, like I think that's kind of more of a polite way than saying, oh my god, you can't say things like that, like that's disrespectful. It lands better though, because I mean I have to say, somebody, I don't know which of your pages I learned that from, but I'd never thought of that before, and I think I'm really kind of liberal and cool and with it, and I'm in HR, so I'm always really careful about things. And then you tend to feel really bad about yourself because you might have used the wrong term in the past, but obviously you don't use it like meaning to be. Yeah, like I honestly wouldn't care if someone said to Priya, oh, like that girl, that Down syndrome girl, that wouldn't bother me, because I'm like, yeah, she does have Down syndrome. They just don't have a child with Down syndrome, so they're not going to know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like you can't expect people to know everything.
No.
Oh, yeah, because I think like I had the old-fashioned views. I told you, like, you know, I was heartbroken and stuff, and it changed me. I realized how, because of the way I was, I know, like, I just want to change everyone's perspective. I want to see how, you know, I can understand how people see it, because I relate back to how I was at the very start. But just, I'd love to change, and I know you can't, and that's the whole thing. But I'd love to change everyone's perspective and just see that they're normal kids.
It is slowly changing, though. It really is. Like, the way society looks at them now is completely different to the way they looked at them 10 years ago. Like, they're working now, they're going to college, like, you know, like it is changing slowly. But maybe when our kids are 30, they'll be on their pages themselves, making sure that people's perspectives are changing.
It's you guys who are doing it, because there's a guy I follow. His name is Simon Sinek. He's a management guru, and he's very, very easy to listen to and easy to understand, if you know what I mean. He's like just so easy to take in his terms. Anyway, he talks, instead of trying to force change in the world, you create a movement. Yeah, they're two totally different things. Creating a movement is, hey, it's really nice over here, come on over. We're forcing change, like you said, it's like, oh God, okay, you know, off they go again, they're nagging. It's a totally different thing. So you guys are making that change because you're educating in such a lovely way. And like, I remember that thing about, oh my God, I should use different terminology, but it sank in because it wasn't, didn't make you feel bad. Like you said, you're not around making people feel bad because we just don't know better. But it's so important for your girls that I use the right terms. Like, it is so important. So I want to be educated, and there's so many people like me who want to be educated, because when we meet your children, we want to be able to treat them in a way that they feel part of the tribe, part of the gang.
I'm sure Kriya will correct anyone that says anything wrong to her.
Good woman.
She's so independent already. Like, I'd say she'll have no problem talking up for us.
Yeah, but like, that's what you guys are doing. You're creating a movement by your pages, you know, and the other women that you follow. It's amazing what you're doing. Have you had any like negative experiences? You know, have you had any? I mean, even out in the street, or you know, with that old family, that old aunt in the family who still uses the wrong terms and the wrong attitude. Have you come across any of that stuff?
Not now at all. I don't have the biggest following yet as Aoife on Instagram. I haven't had any negativity there yet. Outside, no. And I just, Pippa's in the buggy. People always look in her and they're always smiling and, oh, isn't she beautiful? That's all I get. And I have to say, people are really, really good. I haven't had awkward stare, or, it might be, you say other kids, like smaller kids, and what's that plaster on her face?
Yeah.
Kid asking a question. So that's as bad as it gets for me anyway. I find that wherever Pippa goes, everyone adores her and they're just staring in at her, and no negativity at all so far.
Yeah,
amazing. What about you, Eva? Anything?
We had one troll on the page. It was a fake page that commented, "Oh, what's wrong with the baby?" And I was like, luckily enough, Craig was here, so he helped me kind of diffuse a little bit before we responded, because can be a little bit hot-headed. But they said, "What's wrong with the baby?" And I just wrote back saying, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with her." And they just wrote
Everything's
back,
right with her, baby.
Yeah, they just wrote back, "Looks funny." And I was like, okay. But then I just put up like, "Oh, can you please report this page?" I shared it to the story, and the amount of people that wrote to me saying they receiving messages off this person, like writing to people about their weight, about their children and everything. Now, that was it. That was the end of it for us. The same as you, Lisa. Like, when we were out with Kriya in the buggy, Kria's sitting up waving at everyone, like drawing attention, trying to get everyone over to her. And then we get the, "Oh my God, it's Kriya from Instagram." And I'm like, oh no. But like, Waterford is small. So she does, like, she would like we'd have a lot of mammies in Waterford that follow us, but I'm always delighted when people come over to say hello, because I'd be chatting to them in mails and then you're actually putting a face to them. So like, you know, that would be the only negative thing, would have been that troll, but around town and everything,
Yeah.
she's absolutely adored.
But you know, then isn't that a sign of the times? Because I mean, I'm sure you've both researched all, you know, the history and what it would have been like in Ireland years ago, and you know, isn't that wonderful then that your kids are experiencing a new normal?
Yeah.
So, to wrap up our interview, I would like to ask you if there's a mum or a dad or a family member who's watching this interview and they're facing into a diagnosis and they're worried, what one message would you have for them? Eva, you go first.
Don't panic. Go and don't use Google. Go on to a Down syndrome support page on Facebook. Look for a support page on Instagram and chat to a parent that's gone through it. Yeah. Do not Google a thing.
That's the best advice for anything, actually. Don't Google. It will always say you have cancer, no matter what you do.
You're always going to die.
Yeah.
That's great advice. Thank you. Lisa, what advice would you have?
Similar to Aoife, just don't worry. If I could take back my worry and my upset that I felt, I would in a heartbeat. But in a way, it kind of made me, you know, I had to go how I feel about her now, I suppose. I suppose it's just don't worry. Like, it's, you know, she or he or she, whatever, normal child, treat he or she like a normal child. It's not, there shouldn't be even be a, you know, this
normal word.
Yeah. That's amazing. Ladies, thank you so much. That was lovely. Really enjoyed chatting to you. You're absolute inspiration. So I will encourage everybody to go follow your page. And if you're watching this video, we'll have their tags underneath. I'm pointing down here, underneath somewhere. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thanks for having us.